All right. Well, thank you all for coming out. I'm Sergeant Jacqueline Davis, the Director of Media Relations for the Anne Arundel County Police Department. And in just a few moments, our Chief of Police will be coming up to give a statement with our county executive and the members of the clergy and leaders that are up here with me. Real quick, before we get started, the Chief will call up speakers. In the interest of all the time for the media, I know we're pushing it for your deadlines and stuff. We will be keeping it moving so that you can get everything that you guys need for your stories. So without further, I'm going to ask our Chief of Police, Tim Altamari, to come forward.
Thank you, Sergeant. If the Sergeant will allow, I'm going to yield the opening to Mr. Pittman because his outrage has been very apparent the last 24 hours, 36, 48 hours. And then I'll go next and lead us into our guest speakers. Sir, County Executive Stuart Pittman.
Sorry about that. So, back again. I wrote a little statement this morning. You know what happens when I do that. All right, so it was only last summer that Anne Arundel County residents came together to recognize the horror and brutality of lynchings that had taken place in our county. Lynchings by white mobs of African American victims. We acknowledged at that time that the racism that fed that violence and terror still exists in our communities. We acknowledged that hate crimes and hate bias incidents were growing in our county and that our numbers were higher than any other county in the state. Hundreds of us came together in the fall under the leadership of our newly reconstituted Human Relations Commission, and we faced our weaknesses as a community. We pledged to do better. We changed our county slogan by adding to it the last two words of our Pledge of Allegiance, for all. We aspire to be the best place for all. So given our history and given the challenges that communities of color face today in this state and this county, and especially in this pandemic, the brutal public torture and killing of a black man by a white police officer on a Minneapolis street is painful. I encourage every adult in our county, particularly every white adult of privilege, to watch that video. And when you do, imagine that Mr. George Floyd, the victim trapped under the knee of that officer, was your brother. And when you're done, I encourage you to take a deep breath, set your jaw, and pledge to push back for the rest of the waking hours of your life against every wedge driven by hate, fear, and racism between the people of this country. I also want to say that the brutal act committed by that officer and the negligence of the officers who failed to intervene bear no resemblance to the values or the actions practiced by our Anne Arundel County Police Department. Our police chief can speak with far more authority on that topic than I ever will. And our leaders from NAACP, Caucus of African American Leaders, United Black Church, Clergy, can speak with far more authority than I ever could on the emotions that this incident brings forth. So I will stand down and let others speak.
Thank you, sir. I'll be brief because my message today is probably amongst the least important. Up here, I will tell you that I wrote an op-ed for our local paper. It is on our social media. You can read my thoughts in depth on it. I will say that every right-thinking police officer in this country was disgusted by what they saw on that video. Human life matters. We exist to protect it as an effort to show how united we are on that front, how committed we are to that reality being our reality in Anne Arundel County. I have representatives from both unions representing our police officers, our sworn police officers, and we have representatives here from our Black Officers Association, because I wanted the world to see that all 800 roughly of us who wear this patch and badge condemn what we saw. There is no place for that behavior in American policing. We're committed to doing it different in Anne Arundel County, and I'd like to thank the representatives you see up here with me for trusting me enough to come and talk today about unity. What we saw on that video deserves protests across the nation. There is no doubt about it. I support every person expressing their First Amendment rights to protest that horrific thing that we saw. My ask is simply this to people visiting Anne Arundel County or who lives here. Keep our protests peaceful. The police will show up to protect you, not to stifle your comments. We will be respectful. We will be professional. Work with us instead of against us. So here today, I'd like to thank Ms. Jackie Alsop, the president of our Anne Arundel County branch of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, Mr. Carl Snowden, the convener and chairman of our Caucus of African American leaders in the county, Apostle Thomas, who is one of our leaders in the African American clergy in the county, Reverend Jay Officer, who is a retired police officer and works tirelessly to keep bonds built between the police and community in the county, and Reverend Cheryl Menendez, who also works day, night, 365 days a year, not just when pictures are being taken, to help us keep the bonds with our youth strong in this county and our relationship in a great place. We also have Bishop Craig Coates in attendance, Bishop Antonio Palmer, who has been a great help in our West County, Bishop Eric Wright, who has become a personal friend of mine as well as a leader in the community. The Reverend Stephen Tillett is here, immediate past president of our NAACP. The Reverend Ken Moore, the Reverend Dr. Ken Moore, who is both a chaplain on our police department and one of our youth activities specialists on the police department. The Reverend Dr. Carletta Allen, who has become a personal friend of mine and is amongst our leading chaplains on the police department, as well as an advocate for our African American community. The Reverend Ryan Sermons is here, who has done amazing work to help us break the wedges that the county executive was talking about amongst people of different ethnicities in the county. I don't think we could have done a lot of what we've done without people who look different showing they think the same. Thank you. Where did I leave off? The Reverend James Bishop is here. Thank you, sir, for coming. We look forward to your help in the future. The Reverend Jesse Young. We have Mr. Mike Mattia from the Southern District Police Community Relations Council and Miss Tracy D'Angelo, also representing South County. Miss Sandy is here from the Pasadena Business Association, also a good personal friend of mine who has helped me keep our relations with all the community, the business community, on an even keel the last 5.5 years. We have, as I discussed, Lieutenant A.J. Gardner, who represents our Supervisors Association, Corporal O'Brien Atkinson, who represents the Fraternal Order of Police, Corporal Rich Herrard, our Minority Affairs Chairman in our Fraternal Order of Police. Lieutenant Charles Ravenel was here. He's here in the back. And Sergeant Cam Cook, representing our Black Officers Association. And I'm going to stop talking now and invite our next guest up with this thought. We're here united today to condemn the trash we saw on that video and to urge people in Anne Arundel County to keep talking, keep caring, and do things the right way in a healthy manner. As I turn it over, Apostle, I'll ask you to introduce each of our guest speakers in turn as they come up. Would you do that for me, sir? Apostle Larry Lee Thomas, everybody.
Chief.
Sir.
Whoever steps up, can they say their name and spell it for us, please?
Can we do that, folks?
And your title.
My name is Larry Lee Thomas, Larry LeeThomas. My title is I'm the apostle, and I'm so grateful that I am here to represent an organization or a group of men and women called the United Black Clergy. When I began to think of this recent incident that has happened in Minneapolis, then I have to reflect even those things that have also happened here in our county called Anne Arundel County. Especially as the clergy, we have always sought one of the things that we use as a slogan, is there not a cause? It's always there's something that will activate us into action. And over the last few days, we see, again, as the chief made mention, emotions are high. But we know that there's a calm that can happen if we keep building the relationship. And that's why we came out with another slogan that says silent no more. Because there's a time you just can't just sit back and try to figure out what's going on. But we also have to know that we have to condemn actions that we see, like that happened there in Minneapolis with Mr. Floyd. We also have to recognize that we as the people, and I like to call us in the clergy, we as the children of God, knows how to be able to come out and lend a hand to be able to bring our humanity back to a place of unity. So again, I stand ready to cooperate to make sure that our communities and our citizens here remain safe. We stand as that one voice to be able to come and let the people know that we are hurting and we're hurting together. So that's why I'm grateful today for all of my colleagues that are here. And I know they have their social distance. You called their name, but can I get them to get out of their seat and just stand up? Because this is where the solidarity really begins. All the clergy, please stand, because this is where we say we're going to take all of us together to be able to make sure that we know that there's a cause. I know the conversation began earlier with the chief of police and looking at what will the summer look like. And now today is our activation time. So again, we say, is there not a cause? And then we want to shout. Can y'all shout with me, silent no more? Silent no more. Or say it like you really mean it. Silent no more. All right, and I'd like to at this time bring forth Mr. Carl Snowden, who is the convener of the Caucus of African Americans. Amen.
First, I want to thank the county executive and the chief for their words. I want to make 3 statements. One is that there are people all over this community who have just reached the point of being fed up. For those who are active in the room, names like Freddie Gray, Trayvon Martin, Tamar Rice, Sandy Bland, Michael Brown. The list goes on and on. Many of those individuals had families. Many of those individuals continue to grieve. Ultimately, the question has to be, where do we go from here? What now? We've asked the county executive to reconsider a decision that he made. There are 9 to 12 African American organizations in the county. Many are represented in this room, released a press statement yesterday calling on the county executive to put back in his budget monies for a body cameras. Why? Because we know that body cameras are not the panacea. They will not solve the problems that we face in this country. But what body cameras have proven to be is that unblinking eye that will tell a story that is not based on people's perspective of what happened. Anyone who took the moment to watch that video, anyone who understands history, when the county executive opened up with his remarks about us looking at lynchings, it reminded me of the fact that there were times in this nation where people would watch as someone was lynched. When we watch what happened in Minneapolis, we watch people watch a man be lynched. So what do? On June 9th, the Caucus of African American Leaders, in partnership with the United Black Clergy, in partnership with the NAACP, Connecting the Dots, and other organizations, are going to hold a public forum using the Zoom as a means of discussing what do we do as a community? What do we do as a community to prevent these kinds of occurrences from happening again? What will it take? What do we as a community must do? So that will take place on June 9th. It will be at 6:00 p.m. where we will gather the leadership in Anne Arundel County, looking at where do we go from here. I want to end my remarks with this observation. Been around a long time. I've seen so much in my life, but I want people to know something, and I want to be as clear as I can be. Every community, every people reach a point where enough is enough. I'm telling people as clearly as I can, we're at that point. What's missing in the room today are young people. I'm telling you, this is not the African American community of 1950. This is a different community. People are not willing to take the kind of abuses that too many of us have shouldered over the past. I welcome the opportunity to work with the chief and with others in working to have a safe summer. But I don't want to return to normal. Those who argue that we need to return to normal, I don't want to be a part of that. Normalcy has meant unemployment for African American young people. Normalcy has meant racism continuing. I do not want to return to normal. If nothing else comes out of this, I hope what will come is a commitment by everyone to make America better. Thank you.
Can you say your name and spell it? Carl.
S-N-O-W-D-E-N, Coral.
K-O-C?
C. Thank you.
I think we just need that chant one more time. Solid no more.
Solid no more.
I hope we was in a, like, we know we're in a press conference, but we should say it like we really mean it. Can you shout it? Solid no more.
Solid no more.
And that brings the next speaker, good friend, president of the NAACP, Miss Jackie Ossopp.
Oh, did you? Uh-oh, getting all hooked up with these earrings. Just throw it on back. Good afternoon. My name is Jacqueline Alsop. Jacqueline, Boone, Boone, Alsop, Allsup. And I am the president of the Anne Arundel County branch of the NAACP. We are here today to support our communities and our county. It was very painful for me to watch the video of George Floyd. We do not want anything like this to happen in our county. We do not want this to happen again anywheres. There is an investigation going on as it relates to George Floyd. Charges should be made against the person who committed the act. But there has been no charges thus far.
Actually, he was just arrested.
He was just arrested.
Officer Chauvin, I think is pronounced.
Oh, well, I'm glad to hear that. I am glad to hear that. So we asked that they do their job, and they're doing their job because there has been an arrest. So we're looking for justice for George Floyd. While we are aware of the need to make budget cuts here in Anne Arundel County, during these difficult times, it is our opinion that it is important to put back in the budget funding for body cameras. Body cameras protect the police, and it also protects the community. It is not the answer to everything, but it will be helpful. Our youth NAACP met online on Zoom last evening, and there were over 30 youth on that call. And their concern was for their community and their county. What do we do, is what they said. How can we address this issue in our county? So they've developed a plan to take action in Anne Arundel County, our youth, to address these issues of racism that has gone on for many, many years. So again, I asked the county government to please consider putting back in the budget funding for body cameras. Thank you.
I guess I get a chance to say it again. Silent no more.
Silent no more.
And at this time, we're going to have the Overseer Jay Offer, a member of the United Black Clergy, but also has stood as a liaison between the clergy and the police for a few years now. So we will hear from him at this time. The Overseer Jay Offer, or Joe.
Good afternoon. My name is Jay Offer, Jayoffer. The title is Overseer, and I'm also pastor of Harvest Crusade Ministries. Isaiah 40:1 has an admonition. It says, comfort my people, says your God. We have heard from many leaders in our community about the processes and the things that are happening. I would like to speak to the hearts of people that may be listening today. There is no doubt that there is a great amount of grief, disappointment, anger, and hurt over this situation. As I watched the county executive and the chief of police, I could see on their face that they were holding back what they really wanted to say, that you can't print and you can't put on television. But we grieve over this loss of yet another unarmed man that has lost his life. And I find that the grief is not isolated to the African American community. I'm pleased to say that there are people that have not had the African American experience, but come from all races that are disgusted by this tragic act. Citizens all over this country, and their grief has been validated by voices of leadership on the local levels, by the voices of leaders on the state levels, and even in the national level. We've been validated by our houses of worship as pastors speak out against it. This grief that we suffer, God can and He will find a way to comfort your heart with His compassionate spirit. The clergy are here to present a ministry of presence, to let you know that there is hope. Though we grieve in our hearts, it is never a good course to resort to violence, to vandalism. And as young as I am and as handsome as I may be, I've lived through the Washington, D.C. riots when Dr. King was killed. I actually lived through and experienced the riots in Miami when 4 police officers were acquitted of killing an unarmed man on a motorcycle. I was able to witness the riots in Baltimore, as many of us in this room have done, and there's no good that can come out of destroying our own neighborhoods and exposing our own selves to the result of violence unbridled. But I'm here to tell you that there is hope here in Anne Arundel County. As you've heard, the phone rings not just from the advocates into the office of the county executive or the chief of police. The phone rings in our homes as the county executive and the chief of police seek counsel on things that are happening in the community. There is hope in knowing that there is a vast network of very strong community organizations that are standing up daily, speaking against injustices, talking about the system and its failures, talking about things that need to be done. And you've heard it, and the county executive is going to hear it again, about the budget and cuts that we believe need to be restored in order to avoid situations like we find with Mr. George Floyd. But I'm here to tell you that even as I stand proudly with these individuals that speak on behalf of the community's needs, and these fine people that are listening, sometimes they don't operate as well as we think they should because of politics and bureaucracies, but the conversation is indeed happening. So what can you do at home? Well, we've already heard that the youth of Anne Arundel County have met and they have come up with solutions. They've come up with plans of how they can constructively address the issues that are here. But on Tuesday, there is an opportunity for each and every one of us in this state and in this nation on November for us to do. If you're not satisfied with what's happening on the streets of Minneapolis, then go and vote. If you're not satisfied with how your police department is not running, I want you to go and I want you to vote. If you're not happy with how the discourse in the Congress is rolling out, go and vote. If you're not happy with what's happening in Annapolis with the General Assembly, go and vote. I want you to know that you have the power to make a change. You have the power to shape your community. Get involved in civic organizations and think about what it is that your values are and who's representing your views. Go and vote. Tuesday, do not allow it to go without you having a vote. Thank you.
I don't know if I should shout hallelujah to that great word that was just delivered, but the messengers are in the house. Can I hear solid no more? Solid no more. Come on, solid no more. Solid no more. Because that's why we are assembled, and as you see, the leaders respond. We just got the call yesterday, and many of us came because we are concerned about our community. We are concerned about what action needs to be taken so that we can continue this wonderful journey. We have a great woman of God that we know is doing great work, and you have seen her throughout the county laboring and involved, and I know over many years I have been a testimony or a testament to the work that she is doing here in our community. And I know that she is one that will say solid no more, because there is a call. The Pastor Cheryl Menendez.
I just know that your mask matches your outfit.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am SHERYL MENENDEZ. First as a pastor, well, I'm going to change that. First as a mother of 2 sons who I love passionately, and a grandson. I have been unable to bring myself to watch the complete video of what took place. Can I say as a pastor what I am very disgusted about are many things, but one of the things that was taken was the one thing that God gave us in creation was breath. You cannot tell whether a breath is black or white. It's breath. The one thing that makes us all the same is the ability to breathe, which was taken away. The next I want to share with you is the fact that I don't come because of whatever reason, but the fact that I was asked to come here. You don't see me in the news, you don't see me all these places, and we have been working for over 30 years in Anne Arundel County. We have an MOU. I heard President Alsop talk about the youth. That's my passion. We have worked in Anne Arundel County Public Schools for over 30 years. All of our programs are basically for children and youth. My concern is this summer, a county executive, because things that they have been taken away from them. There needs to be a piece where we have that opportunity to provide some summer enrichment for our children. My age group is 12 to 17, with I work with from behavioral health to school system to community to everywhere. My concern, sir, as I watch the needs and the hurt and the pain every week as we are working with Dr. Brown and those to give away food, there's already an anxiety. So County Executive, let me share this with you, and for those of you who are in behavioral health and mental health, you will understand. Only 10% of your mind is your conscious mind that deals with rational thinking. 90% deals with emotions and feelings. I'm concerned this summer about the 90% of the subconscious mind. Because if people are already dealing with COVID, they're dealing with no money, they're dealing with not wondering what is going to happen after September or whatever, there are going to be emotions that people get to the place that they don't care anymore. I'm hurting. And does anybody care that we hurt? They're reminded of the Willie Lynch syndrome. They're reminded of events that were done and nothing was done about it. And all I can say is to those of you who are leaders, pastors who work here today, my closing remarks are, we have to work together. I have worked with Chief Altamari and Gerard Fleming, my God, I don't know how many years now. The first contact I had with Chief was to bring us into a meeting. I don't know if you even remember. It was on race. And some of the pastors that are here were there. You invited us to come because you had a passion. You had a concern. Chief Gerard Fleming, I can call him at any time or Chief Altamira, I watched you fight through last year to get to our youth summit in Annapolis. It took you 2 hours to get to a 15-minute distance. That did something to my heart. All I'm asking you all to do is, we know what the issues are. How do we come together with solutions and work together? And nobody is greater, nobody is better, but we're better together. Thank you.
Okay. I know you got deadlines. We'll take some questions. That was easy.
Yes, I promise my clergy friends and my political friends that I would not embarrass anyone, but I wanted to make one statement as a retired police officer, and I want to show my credentials. As a retired police officer, I would like to make one minor suggestion, if y'all have not already considered it. I think you should consider an age-appropriate curfew for the next 48 hours. And that can be built into what is already known that you're not supposed to gather a large crowd. And I think you should add an age-appropriate curfew, because for 48 hours, maybe some people that are upset now, they can cool down. And if the clergy do what they can do, if they use their full power, they can get the word out in the community, keep the kids home, and so they would not be in that area. That's as a suggestion from a person who's trained in crowd control, blah, blah, blah. But while we have the mayor and the county executive here, I'd like to re-urge you both that you have refused to do, which was to denounce this president of this United States. If you heard his message that was tweeted out, that is disgusting, it is reprehensible that a so-called leader of this country will come out with a statement like that on the heels of what happened. And I encourage the media that's here, all you got to do is go back and look at 2016, 2017, and 2018, in front of police organizations, he encouraged rough treatment of suspects. It's documented, you can find it just like that. This is the President of the United States doing this. So, when organizations like the police department, when mayors and county executives would not stand up and denounce his conduct and attitude, why do you think these police officers feel like they are emboldened to do what they've done? The police officer, for example.
Mr. Bracey, I got to ask you to wrap it up.
I'm going to wrap it up. I'm just giving it from a police officer standpoint. I'm encouraging the county executive and the mayor also to ask to have the police officers' email checked. Just like the FBI said, when you check it, you find 75% of the police officers have racist or pro-Trump things on their email. It was reported, it's a fact, you can find it out yourself, and I'm encouraging, I'm asking you, as a leader, to encourage that to be done, so you can find out the mentality of what goes on in these people's minds, why they do what they do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Do I have any questions from the media? Sir.
Are there any programs in Anne Arundel County Department that help to maybe with sensitivity training or some sort of awareness that goes along with dealing with different backgrounds and socioeconomic statuses?
Yes, sir. So we were the first large police department in Maryland to do fair and impartial policing for the whole agency, which was the President's Task Force on 21st Century Policing in 2014 recommendation. So we've done that, and then every year we're doing something in our in-service training around cultural competency. Last year we concentrated on our relationships with the LGBTQ community. But every year you will see us reinforce that, because we got to serve everybody equally and fairly.
Sir, I have one last question.
Yes, sir.
Your DARE program, it's very well known in the area. It's a model for the other agencies. Are you going to step up that process?
Working on how to do it. working on how to do it. So between that and the youth activities program, we're really proud of what we've done the last few years. But I got to tell you, it's been tough with this COVID situation. We are not able to connect to the kids like we need to connect with the kids. And you've heard several comments about worried about this summer. I'm scared to death of this summer. And the cops got to be superhuman to get through it in a positive light. And that's what I'm expecting of them, to be superhuman. So we're going to keep pushing it. It's been tough this year. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming out. Thank you to our guests, all of you, for sending one united message about peace. It don't mean you agree with me every time. It does mean we'll work together to fix stuff. Thank you very much. Sir, did you have any closing comments?
Well, I want to say something about the body cameras, and I want to say something about activities this summer. And there's been a big question mark about what activities this summer are going to be allowed, and I hear you. So we're going to be going back and talking to Rec and Parks. They're just trying to figure out what they can do. And there's a possibility we can get creative with money that we didn't have before, that we have from the CARES Act money. On the body cameras, as you know, I did I asked the chief to put it into his budget proposal, and when we looked at the numbers, and when I talked to the council, it looked like it wasn't going to be happening, because it didn't look like I had the support on the council, and then the budget projections dropped by $63 million, and then we were told that there's a state committee that's going to be looking at ways to do it more affordably by merging different counties' programs together. So we didn't put it into the budget proposal that went to the council. I would encourage you to keep advocating for it, keep pushing me, keep pushing the council. I mean, legally, the council at this point has to make a change, but I've made it clear to the council that I do want to get body cameras onto our officers, because I agree it protects the officers, protects the community, it builds trust, from what I understand. And yeah, it's expensive, but I think we have to keep that conversation going. So please keep pushing, because if you don't, we'll never get there. So thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for your consideration, as they say.